I am A.L. Amir. Today we are going to deal with selection of suitable procurement arrangement for a project. We are going to deal with that. The selected procurement route will depend on a number of variables such as topography, logistics, weather, availability, technology, finance, labor availability and the service availability of services. Traditional procurement. The client first appoints a consultant to design the project in detail and then prepare the tender drawings and other tender documents, including drawings, work schedules and bill of quantities. Contractors are then invited to submit tenders for the construction of project, usually on a single stage competitive basis. This is referred to as the traditional contract. The contractor is not responsible for the design other than temporary works, although some traditional contracts do provide the contractor to design specific parts of the works. Typically, the client retains the design consultant during the construction phase to prepare any additional design information that may be required, to review any design that may be prepared by the contractor, and to inspect the works. Normally, one consultant, often but necessarily the architect, will appoint an administrator to the contract. Traditional construction contracts are mostly commonly lump sum contracts. Traditional construction contracts, however, remeasured contracts and cost reimbursement contracts can also be used for traditional projects where design and construction are separate sequential activities. This form of procurement is suitable for both experienced and inexperienced clients. Fully develop the design before the tender gives the client certainty about the design, quality and the cost. But it can be slower than the other forms of contracting, as the contractor is appointed only once the design is complete. They are not able to help the buildability and packaging of goods as they develop. It is considered to be low risk method of contracting for clients, as the contractor takes the financial risk of construction. However, if the design information is incomplete or tender, or insignificant or significant variations are required after the contractor has been appointed, the cost to the client can be significant. Because of this, and because of the separation of design and construction, traditional procurement can be seen as adversarial. Traditional procurement process separates between the design and construction processes. The contractor is allocated with the responsibility for the coordination of subcontracting design. The poor influence of the contractor as the operational party has over the design cost and risk allocation is considered one of the main disadvantages of this approach. On the other hand, the fact that the industry has been working with it for a long time, it is main advantage since it has established parameters look when assessing the value of money of this type of procurement path. Still, conflicts are possible. And in fact, traditional procurement goes against the integration of the supply chain in construction, raises the risk of conflicts as both parties may not have the same idea about the way the project should be delivered. The advantages and disadvantages of traditional procurements are briefed below. Good for quality, full design pre-tender, design flexibility, variation and instructions, specialist subcontractors named specialist update, design control through the architect of the contract administrator. Contractor design portions such as the mechanical and electrical engineering cost, there may be a lump sum cost benefit and unless multiple charges made. Not suitable for time required for full detailed package before tender. Cost not benefit if many changes are made. Incomplete drawings tested lead to delay, cost and claims of negligence. Government organizations prefer this method of procurement with certain modifications. They usually have a system of pre-qualification of contractors depending on the budget and complexity. Only such pre-qualified contractors are invited to tender. These projects are remeasured type. Lump sum contracts can also be arranged for small and less complicated projects with a percentage of completion or sections of the project for interim payment purpose. All projects for contractors in government sector should be done in a standardized manner in order, among others, scope, design, specification, and complete or nearly complete to get value for money. The contractor pre-qualified list to be updated on a regular basis in line with the predetermined criteria depending on their current resources at least once a year. Practice such as award with predetermined ad hoc rates or work given to an existing contractor without competition, etc., to be avoided. Sometimes pre-qualification criteria for some projects are kept so stringent, which results in the pre-qualification of only one or two firms. These to be avoided, as this will open the gates for malpractices. There should be a minimum of at least 4 firms. Possible wide publicity regarding tenders and reasonable time for implementation periods to be given. Sometimes limited tenders invited for emergency work, but later found to be either the work is delayed or not put to immediate use and completion. These are evidence that in some cases this procedure was followed to avoid competitive bidding and mainly to avoid work to a favorite contractor at higher rates. No tender should be present without the availability of the site with necessary government authority approvals. All service authority approvals should be obtained before the issue of the tender. All government projects should be remeasured with drawings complete in order to eliminate or control additional works of variation, bidding, implementation, and to prepare reasonable approximate estimate at tender to have a uniform documentation. Further, correct rate analysis can be conducted during tender analysis owing to the legal procedure that the existing rates, high or low, are contractual and the same is used for pricing of additional works. All the projects above $1 million to be given good coverage and the tender with the minimum of invitation of 10 tenderers and have the following tender documents as a minimum. One volume of tender of contracts conditions, one volume for specification both general and particular, one volume for bill of quantities, one volume for tender drawings. The contract document include the volume, the above 4 volumes marked as contract documents along with another volume of post-tender correspondence. This volume is to include all post-tender correspondence such as tender notices, clarification, and other negotiation with the letter of award. It is advisable to have one more volume for soil investigation for major projects. All tenders with a duration of over 180 days to have escalation clauses. The tender period to be 4 to 6 weeks depending on the size and the complexity of the project. Tender reports to be prepared within 2 weeks and another 2 weeks for the award. All tender invitations should be by the employer. Tender notice, clarification, etc. will be prepared by the client if there is one, but issued by the employer after review if possible. Tenders received after the due date and the time of receipt is not to be considered to maintain the sanctity of the tender system and to avoid malpractices. All tenders All tenderers who collected the tender document to be invited for the tender opening and the prizes set up to maintain transparency. All projects award should be only after preparation of tender analysis report. The resources are available in-house, such as the government department, then the consultant role should be limited to the preparation of tender analysis report and recommendations. All post-tender negotiations and award of the project should be done by the in-house person. All contractors to obtain performance bond at least 10% of the contract price before the commencement of the work. All projects above 1 million to have the facility for advance payment of at least 10% of the contract price after submission of on-demand bond in order to receive a competitive price. Other systems used for tender are below. Design and build contracts. Design and build contractual arrangements have become a preferred route for procurement for some type of projects, particularly for private employers, owing to various reasons such as certainty of the price, certainty of the time, single source of responsibility, and no finger pointing between various entities who are involved in the implementation of the project. They believe that the project criteria can be better met with this kind of arrangement. The following actions are to be taken in order to reach that objective. 1. The project overall scope to be very clear, more than 90%. These projects should be tendered only among pre-qualified contractors. The pre-qualification process to be project-based. For example, a contractor who is pre-qualified, say, for drainage project should not be invited for building project and vice versa. Past experience in successfully completing previous similar projects is an important criteria for pre-qualification. The availability of resources, both men and equipment, with the pre-qualified contractor for the chosen project. Pre-tender meeting to be conducted with the proposed contractors in order to fully clarify the scope and the risk and that they are involved in that particular project. Sufficient time to be allocated to finalize the required details of the project and the project to be commenced only after the completion of all such requirements. A base or preliminary program, not necessarily part of the contract documentation is also required. The specifications for such projects are often difficult, and the major drawback in this project is the maintenance of quality, as the contractor can insist that this price was based on certain level of quality. For example, if it is a sewage treatment plant, the contractor can insist that this price was based on the equipment manufactured, say, in China, and its price was based on the equipment manufactured, say, in China, as the same meets the project criteria, whereas the employers want the same to be manufactured, say, in the United Kingdom. The other drawback in this type of projects is variation or date changes by the employer to the original scope, which are extremely difficult to manage both in terms of money and time. There are other types of contracting arrangements such as management contracting or construction management. The basic principle is both management contract and construction management is that one contractor manages a series of different works, set contractor. The main contractor between the main contractor or the construction management contractor and the prime contracting described above lies in the risk of responsibility, and the owner of the building and the management contractor, or the construction manager partial responsibility, or the prime contractor full responsibility to share. The main strength of the management contracting is that management contractor can manage the work contractors while the owner still has some control over them. The main weakness, on the other hand, is that there is no one single point of responsibility because the contracts are issued between the owner and the various subcontractors. Contract management mostly used in large infrastructure projects where design and construction need to run parallel. The construction manager will coordinate the project in terms of the on-site operations. The advantages and the disadvantages are summarized below. Advantages: complete complex or specialized projects, individually appointed packages to best-suited subcontracts, potential cost saving on competitive tender. Time: it is possible to overlap the design and construction. Thereby, there is a possibility to reduce the time. Quality: each package subcontractor, each package to be a subcontract specialist. Design flexibility: changes can be made throughout construction, although there are potential for cost implications. Disadvantages: inexperienced client, risk is very high. Fixed cost, prime cost, basic packages, lack of availability of specialists would leave gaps in works to be undertaken. The other type is the engineering, procurement and construction contract, EPC. Engineering and procurement and construction contracts, sometimes called turnkey contracts, are similar to design and build contracts in that there is a single contract for the design and construction of the project. But generally, with an EPC contract, the client has less say over the design of the project and the contractor takes more risk. On a design and build project, the client may produce an outline design upon which tenders are invited. On the EPC project, the client may seek tenders based on performance specification and then have an input in the design other than the variations are instructed. Payment can be lump sum, cost, reimbursable basis or some other basis, but generally the client would be likely to see a fixed price, lump sum agreement, where the responsibility of the client for cost control is taken over by the contractor. This gives the client a relatively risk-free arrangement with one point of responsibility and cost certainty. They can operate the contract with the maintenance of resources, with the minimum resources. The client's main risk lies in the definition of the specification upon which the contract is based. If the specification is not well developed and concise, otherwise the quality and the performance of the completed development may compromise. Generally, EPC contracts are used on engineering and infrastructure projects or industrial projects where aesthetics of design might be considered less important to the client than the performance and the cost certainty. Collaborative working usually involves long-term relationship in the form of framework agreements or strategic partnership and focuses on larger collaboration with a single project. Collaborative working has an advantage of better managing by avoiding rebidding and better knowledge of the collaborators of how things can be prepared to be done. On the downside, the relationship can become too comfortable without any motivation for improvement. Furthermore, collaborative working is not possible for small projects and is basically restricted to companies or contractors with large operational capacity. There are instances where when all the details are complete, sometimes even after tenders and obtaining offers, the project is unable to be constructed in the proposed location, owing to the other problems such as not able to take the possession of the site. The employers are then tempted to give the project in another location to the same contractor with the understanding that any additional cost owing to the change of location can be given as additional to tender value. If the situation is like that, then these additional amounts to be very clearly defined and never left to interpretation by the employer or the contractor. The other often can be said as the biggest drawback is when the selected contractor is unable to complete the work for any reason. Then the employer is forced to bring in another contractor to complete the work, which will time consuming and result in very high cost, and the new contractor will find lot of faults with the works of the previous contractor. In addition, the new contractor may be reluctant to give guarantee and warranty for the works already completed by the previous contractor. Thank you.